Hey, what's going on YouTube? Welcome to Post Cologne. Today I'm going to give you 7 Middle Eastern summer fragrances that I think you should know about. So let's jump into it. All right, so summertime is right around the corner, and as a Canadian, couldn't be happier. I am looking forward to some nice warm weather coming around here very soon, as well as some nice summer fragrances. So today I got 7 summer fragrances from a variety of Middle Eastern brands that I think you all should know about, and maybe something for everybody in this one. So links are gonna be down in the description if you decide you wanna check any of these fragrances out, and let's quit screwing around and let's get into it. All right, kicking things off, going to the house of Ahmed Al Maghribi with Ahmed Al Maghribi's Arwa. Now you can scoop this bad boy up for about $34 at discounters, and fairly new pickup for me. I got this in a haul video I did a month or 2 ago, worn this a handful of times, and this has really grown on me as a nice summer fragrance. Nice kind of like a candied orange citrus in the opening with some nice spices, like a bit of a black pepperish. Has a nice zestiness to it, a candied orange style of sweetness that comes through, and a really nice aromatic lavender, giving it a nice clean, fresh style of opening to this one, with that little hint of this kind of like masculine black pepper that comes through. As you get towards the mid, you get a little bit of pink pepper comes through, adding a bit of additional spiciness to it, little touches of sweetness, and a nice earthy patchouli coming through that just, it forms kind of a mature, masculine earthiness that's with this, with kind of a fun, alluring, citrusy profile to this. Really, really nice. Has a bit of a kind of a barber shoppy feel to it, just with that earthiness that comes through with a nice clean citrus, nice clean aromatic lavender that's in there as well. Really a beautiful opening and mid to this. As you get towards the dry down, it gets a little bit deeper, a little bit darker as you get there. A little bit of a muskiness to it, some ambery resins that come through, adds a bit of a warmth to it, but those citruses, those aromatics still stick with it, with that hint of masculine spice. Very gentlemanly style of fragrance, but it also has this kind of flirty allure to it at the same point. A bit on the mature side, if you will, but a very masculine style of summer fragrance, and just absolutely gorgeous scent profile on this. Performance on this, pretty good. I get about an hour and a half, 2 hours worth of projection before it does settle back in, and about 6 to 8 hours worth of longevity. Got some on my clothing, and this does push out a lot longer. So performance for a summer style of fragrance does fairly well, and the scent profile on this, absolutely gorgeous. Definitely worth checking out. That's Ahmed Al Maghribi's Arwa. All right, next up, going to the house of Ard Al Zaafaran with Ard Al Zaafaran's Al Dirham limited edition. Now you scoop this bad boy up for $30 to $45 at various discounters, and this is a great twist of the Chanel Allure Homme Sport Missoni Wave style of DNA. Just, I find this one to be a little bit different, a little bit on the sweeter side, but overall still maintains that DNA in an absolutely gorgeous, bright, fresh, clean style of fragrance. Opens up with some nice tangerine, geranium, little hints of some lemongrass, so it has that citrusy, aromatic feel, but this tuberose that's in the mid moves in really quickly, giving it this nice bubblegummy, sweet, white floral sort of vibe going on to it. Little touches of some green, some lily of the valley, adds almost kind of a green, watery touch to this as well. Jasmine just kind of playing around the edges, adding to that floral aspect to it. And you get a little hints of some warm spice, some cloves, some cinnamon that works its way in there, just to kind of balance off that bright freshness as well as that sweetness that's in there. Gorgeous opening and mid to this, and as you get towards the dry down, this amazing creamy vanilla base starts to form. You get the vanilla, a little bit of a dry tonka that forms, almost giving it just a hint of a woody touch to it as well, and some nice muskiness that comes through. Still has that kind of clean, summery sort of vibe, but the sweetness from that vanilla and that tuberose, the white floral sweetness, mixes together really, really well, giving this as a nice kind of sexy, alluring, intoxicating style of scent DNA to this, but it still maintains that sort of masculine, gentlemanly vibe. Beautiful scent profile in this, and just absolutely fantastic for those summer evenings, those summer date nights. This would definitely fit the bill. Performance on this, pretty good. I get about an hour and a half, 2 hours worth of projection, and about 7 8 hours worth of longevity off my skin. Get some of my clothing, I definitely push that out a lot longer. So bang for your buck. This is a beautiful scent profile, and performance on this is pretty good for a summer fragrance. Definitely worth checking out. That's Ard Al Zaafaran's Al Dirham limited edition. All right, next up, going to the house of Armaf with Armaf's Odyssey Tyrant. Now you can scoop this up for in and around the $20 range, and this is a unique twist on, as far as I can tell, 2 different fragrances. It has that kind of Dior Sauvage vibe going on to it, as well as that Bulgari Tiger, and I think it's just a really unique blend of those two, and a great summer flanker to this Armaf Odyssey series. Citruses in the opening, you get that grapefruit, you get that really kind of zesty, bright, clean aspect. A little bit of musky ambroxan coming in from the base, and you get that Sauvage black peppery punch that comes through, and it mixes really well with those citruses. So you get that vibe of the Bulgari Tiger from that citrus, you get this lavender pepperiness coming that kind of reminds you of the Sauvage, and that ambroxan push adding just a bit of musky sweetness to it. Just a really nice kind of hybrid of those two fragrances, and it's absolutely beautiful. Great dumb reach, crowd pleasing, mass appealing style of fragrance with those two scent DNAs kind of intermingling. As you get towards the base, you get a nice woody medley that comes through, so you still maintain that kind of spiced black pepper vibe that's going on to it with those citruses, but it sits on a nice woody base with that little bit of a musky ambroxan coming through, just to add a little bit of sweetness to it and kind of tie everything together. Beautiful summery style of fragrance that's just absolutely perfect for those casual occasions, going out for lunch, hitting the patio. Probably dress this up and go on a date night with it. Just has that fresh, clean sort of vibe with that kind of gentlemanly, sexy kind of allure going on to it as well. Performance on this is okay. I get about an hour and a half worth of projection, and it only lasts about 6 hours off my skin before it does really fade down to a skin scent. So you might have to apply this throughout the day. It's not a beast mode fragrance, but for a summery style of fragrance, the 6 hours I'm not disappointed with, but the scent profile on this, absolutely gorgeous and definitely worth checking out. That's Armaf's Odyssey Tyrant. All right, next up, going to the house of Rasasi with Rasasi's Oud Al Musk. Now you can scoop this up for in and around $20, and this one's a bit of a hidden gem for me in the Rasasi line. Not too many people talk about this one, and they should, because it's a beautiful, masculine, gentlemanly, mature style of fragrance. Has a bit of that barbershop-y style of scent DNA going on to it. Citruses, some nice gallivanum, some clary sage in that opening. So you get that kind of zesty citrus, a little bit of sweetness coming through, this sweet herbaceous clary sage as well, and this gallivanum that adds this nice green bittersweet touch to it, and all those just mix together really nice. In the mid you get some geranium as well as some jasmine, so it gives it a bit of an aromatic touch, a little soft edge with that jasmine, adding just enough white florals to kind of soften those edges from that citrus, that bitter sweetness coming through, and those green notes as well. Once you get towards the dry down, you get a really nice medley of some woods that come through. You get some cedar, some vetiver, some sandalwood, so it's a nice kind of smooth base to this, a little bit of a woody spice to it as well. And that vetiver I find kind of just accentuates those citruses. Nice musk as well, so it adds this little hint of some muskiness and this ambergris as well, which just kind of accentuates some of those other notes. It's not like a salty sort of ambergris that comes through. It just kind of plays with that muskiness and those woods just to kind of accentuate those, giving it a nice deep, rich, mature, masculine sort of vibe, but it does have this kind of like playful side to it, this little bit of an allure because of that kind of fresh, clean sort of vibe going on to it. Beautiful scent profile. Like I said, this is not like your club banger, you know, youthful style of fragrance. This does have a very kind of mature gentleman vibe going on to it, but it also has that kind of clean, fresh allure at the same points that I just absolutely love. Performance on this, decent. I get about an hour and a half worth of projection before it does settle back in, and about 6-7 hours worth of longevity off my skin before it really fades back into a skin scent. So for the scent profile, for those notes that are in there, I do find the performance on this is pretty good, and the scent profile, beautiful, definitely worth checking out. That's Rasasi's Oud Al Musk. All right, next up, going to the house of Paris Corner with Paris Corner's Killer Oud Sunrise. Now you can scoop this up for in and around $40 at various discounters, and this is a clone or twist of the Amouage Sunshine Man. Absolutely beautiful. One of my new favorite pickups from the Killer Oud line. Opens with this really nice kind of fruity style of brandy note, this candied orange, some lavender, immortelle. It has a nice kind of fresh, clean, almost barbershop style of feel to it, but it also has this candied orange that works its way in there with that fruity brandy that gives it almost kind of a gourmandy feel at the same point. Really nice mix of these green aspects to it, this herbaceousness, as well as these bitter green touches just around the edges. Just a beautiful opening to this one. As you get to the mid, a little bit more green comes through with that juniper berries, and you get a little hints and touches of some cedar wood that comes through, so it forms that kind of masculine base. And as you get towards the dry down, you get this nice dry tonka that comes through with that vanilla. Just mixes really nice with these green herbaceous notes, this clary sage as well that's in there. It adds a little bit of a sweet touch to it, mixing with that candied orange. The lavender just gives it a nice clean feel. Like I said, it has it straddles the line between kind of a nice clean barbershop style of fragrance and a nice kind of summery gourmand style of fragrance, just kind of a vanilla creamsicle on a cedar plank. That's pretty much the vibe you're gonna get from this one, and it's absolutely gorgeous. Performance on this is okay. I get about an hour, hour and a half worth of projection, beyond an arm's length, but it does settle in fairly quickly. And then you get about 6 to 7 hours worth of longevity. You can push that out a little bit if you get it on your clothing, but not a beast mode performer, but overall for a summer style of fragrance, it does fairly well. And the scent profile on this, totally worth it for me. Absolutely enjoy this one and definitely worth checking out. That's Paris Corner's Killer Oud Sunrise. All right, next up, going to the house of Lattafa with Lattafa Pride's Ard of Arabia 1. Now you can scoop this up for $38 at various discounters, and this is a clone twist of Louis Vuitton's Imagination. But if you're more familiar with the Lattafa fragrances, this for me is a bit of a hybrid between the Lattafa Al Khayyam Silver and the Tharwa, with this nice little black tea twist on it. And I love both of those fragrances, but the combination of those two with this black tea just makes this a beautiful, beautiful fragrance. Opens with a really strong mint in that opening, little hint of some bergamot. That black tea sweetness comes through and you get this kind of nice hazy style of aromatic lavender as well, but the mint really comes forward in that opening. As you get towards the mid, that black tea sweetness comes forward a little bit more. This ginger pop comes through, adding a really nice kind of sharp, fresh spiciness to this as well. And then this lavender kind of transitions from more kind of the aromatic haziness into kind of this soapy, clean style of lavender that just really adds to the kind of fresh, clean brightness of this fragrance. Works really well with that mint and ginger, and that black tea just balances things out, just giving this just the right sweetness level that just turns it into an absolutely gorgeous fragrance. As you get towards the dry down of this, you get a little bit of kind of ambroxan musk comes through, just gives us a little bit more of a push, but through and through you get that mint, that ginger, that black tea, and that clean soapy lavender that comes through, and it's just an absolutely gorgeous fragrance. Great casual fragrance. I wear this to the gym all the time because it just has that fresh cleanness to it, and it just works every time. Performance on this is pretty good. I got about an hour and a half worth of projection before it does settle back in, and longevity about 6-8 hours before it really fades into a skin scent at that point. You can push it out a little bit more on your clothing, but overall 6-8 hours worth of longevity is where you're sitting on this. If you're looking for a nice, fresh, clean style of fragrance, nice balance of some sweetness, some clean soapiness, you definitely want to check this one out. That's Lattafa Pride's Ard of Arabia 1. All right, last, but definitely not least, going to the house of Afnan with Afnan's Zimaya G. Now you can scoop this up for about $30 at various discounters, and this is a clone or a twist of the Eau de Parisi's Megamar, and really enjoy this one. The opening on this is absolutely delicious. Some pineapple, some blood orange that comes through, little touches of some green. Has that kind of juniper berry, sort of like almost kind of fresh spicy pininess to it, that little touch of green, but it mixes with this juicy, sweet, bright pineapple, this nice kind of almost candied sweet style of blood orange, and it just works together really well together, giving it that fresh, spicy, citrus, sweet sort of vibe going on to it. In the mid, you get a little bit of this kind of bittersweet saffron that comes through, a little bit of muskiness as well. So it just starts to change the profile a little bit away from that kind of that bright, fresh, clean, citrusy sort of style, and it kind of just pulls it down just ever so slightly, just giving it a little bit more depth, a little bit more earthiness. As you get towards that dry down though, that salt starts to come through a little bit. This one doesn't have the same level of saltiness that I find the Megamar clones typically do, that really hit you with that salty vibe. You do get that bittersweet sort of moss and that sandalwood, so it gives it that aquatic turn towards that mid and the dry down. You still get that fresh, clean citrus sweetness that's at the very initial opening, but it does transition into that kind of that aquatic, you know, sun-baked wood with that bitter, inky greenness that comes through. That starts to work its way in towards the dry down. So this will get you into that kind of aquatic vibe without getting your feet too wet, if you will. And it's just an absolutely beautiful scent profile. Really nice balance of those kind of sun-kissed woods, that earthiness with those sweet, citrusy styles of profile with just the nice kind of kiss of some salt that's in there. Beautiful, beautiful fragrance. Performance on this is pretty good. I get a good hour and a half, 2 hours worth of projection. It does push off pretty hard, especially if you get this into the heat. In terms of longevity, you get about 7-8 hours worth of longevity before it does really settle back in, becoming more of a skin scent. But you get some on their clothing. This turns into kind of the next day. This really does stick to clothing quite well. So performance on this, I'm quite impressed, especially for kind of a summery, aquatic style of fragrance. For 30 bucks, definitely worth it for me. Really enjoy this one. Something you might want to check out. That's Afnan's Zimaya G. All right, so there you have it. That's 7 Middle Eastern summer fragrances that I think you should know about, but I want to hear from you guys. What are some of your favorite summer fragrances from any Middle Eastern fragrance house? Comment down below. I love hearing from you guys. I love getting your different recommendations, your hidden gems, different taste and scent profiles. Appreciate you. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all next time.